Hello, Cardfight Vanguard players. This is Naru Samurai here, coming in with top 5 WTFs of Vanguard Overdress. Today we're going to be covering episode 6, which I gotta say, finally we get to look into some of the characters in Overdress that we have not seen yet, as Tonya Abada, as well as his friend who plays Zorga, and we're finally going to be looking into these characters, and I think that's going to be the exciting part that we got to see in the beginning of episode 6 and hope to see more in episode 7. But like I said, I don't want to keep you hold up and waiting, so let's start with number 5.
Welcome, card fighters, to episode 6, and finally what I've been asking for the last 5 episodes is where's Toya? Where's Masanori? Mind you, I didn't actually want to know where Masanori was. I was mainly Toya. But finally, we get to see them once again in episode 6, and we get to know a little bit more about their characters, who they are, and I hope it continues on through episode 7 and 8. It does look like they have like a big brother relationship with each other. It seems that they've kind of like grown together as like best friends, so hoping to also see a little bit more on that and their relation to each other, of how they interact. Could they at all be in a team, or are they at all focused on developing as card fighters? What makes their relationship stick? And we're going to see what's going on there in the future. But before we go any further, let's start off with number 5, Return of Toya and Masanori. Finally, guys, we do start off with Toya's everyday routine, running and working several jobs as well as studying to become a doctor. He looks like he has a pretty built life, and also he does not live in the Kaga area, which is kind of interesting to see that these two commute when they can over to the Kaga area in order to fight Danji or to participate in any of the card fights there, and we're going to learn a little bit more of that going forward. But finally being able to see Toya and Masanori once again is probably the biggest thing for me for the top 5 moment. But let's go into number 4. So eventually Toya and Masanori make their way back to the Kage area and bump into Yu. Within them, they start having a discussion about Danji and what makes him want to come all the way to Kage to meet up with Danji and challenge him to a match. So once again, just like Yu's ambition to hang out, play against Danji, so does Toya. And it does seem that Toya has a different reasoning for it, but Danji's influence on Toya has gone to the point where he is focused on taking Danji down in any way he could. So hopefully we probably see a little bit more on where he goes with that and his reasonings for. And we do get a little bit of his reasonings why he's doing this. And it is, in a sense, a little bit heartbreaking, but I do understand his drive to want to finish something. And he kind of like a completionist, if you can say. Like, if he's able to complete a goal, he moves on to the next one. But it does seem that Vanguard does have a different effect on him. At number 3, we have Return of the Card Fights. So the last 2 episodes, we actually did not get many card fights other than the card fight boxing match that we saw with Danji in the last episode. But we didn't see much of the card fight other than mainly Danji getting his ass whooped. But, let's see what happens. Getting his butt whooped, but let's see what happens. And with Return of the Card Fights, we do see that Yu chose to take on the challenge against Toya instead of Danji, because Danji was still injured. And I actually thought this was a really great moment to start seeing a little bit more different dynamics. Most of the time we see Danji battles, we never get to see any other 2 battles like physically in like the Cray space, I'm going to be calling it, where 2 people are duking it out with each other. Most of the time Danji was always at the receiving or the opposing end of it, but then we get a different change of pace with Yu and Toya. So finally we get to see Bastion coming in and then fighting, guess what, this is going to be our number 2, Valiente. Valiente finally revealed in the anime. This is actually awesome to see, because Valiente is a very interesting card to say the least, and we do get to see him at his most powerful for Yu, as he gave it the over trigger million power. So every time that thing hits, he's going to be able to restand it, probably only once, but let's be honest here. That was the best move that anyone could have made. Another thing I do want to take a note after Valiente's reveal was back we got to see Yu Yu's deck, and I do want to say that whoever, well, we know Clamp's working on the animation for this, is doing a really good job because we're able to not only see their decks and how they build them, but they're actually very sound choices. Now, if you look, Yu Yu's deck is perfect. Like, things you could change for an extra one of, make it down to two, things like that. But overall, like, they gave them a real deck list, like something that someone should strive for. And I thought that was a really interesting moment to see because, you know, in most of the other times in the Cardfight anime, there's a lot of mistakes that they do where they have a card that shouldn't be in the deck at all. It's from another clan. But in this instance, they actually do make a point to have every small detail added to it. Example 2 is in the match, Yu Yu does intercept with Varina Arcus, and you do see another card under Arcus, which is the Trickstar. And I thought that was kind of clever that they actually included that because they didn't really have to, but being able to show every small bit of detail of the card fight is very important, and I thought that was something really great to share. But yeah, overall, seeing Valiente in that fight was amazing. Once again, going up one-on-one against Bastion and taking the win. Oh man, I'm gonna rewatch it. But now, coming to number one is Toya's Demons. Now, throughout the episode, we pretty much got an insight on who Toya is, what his character's like. It seems he is one of those cram school type of students in where he lives, kind of similar to Light from Death Note, hopefully in no relation. But Toya does seem to have a drive to want to keep studying, become better, be stronger, and at some point his grandmother back in the day gave him a Vanguard deck because she wanted to teach him that in every sense of the word there always has to be time for yourself, and he is taking the time available to play a card game. And the card game didn't just become a game to play like any other board game from him, it became another life, which is true because, you know, when you do play TCGs, you meet up with a lot of different people and you start sharing your mentality of them. And I thought that was an interesting thing to see on Toya's side because the game became more than just a game for him. It became, you know, a habit. It became a practice. It became a secondary judgment for him. He spends time looking at his deck, upgrading it, spending more time on it. It's something similar that we all do. We do give a good portion of our time to Cardfight Vanguard. And it does seem that Toya does the same while also maintaining his other life. But his demons at the end of it is coming to the conclusion that some of his family members do not support those choices. They think that he should be focusing more on school, becoming a doctor, which he does put in the time to, but he feels that at some point he has to give up the game to fulfill his family's wishes. And that brings us to his demons of the second he's done and quits Vanguard, what is left of him? What does he choose? It's something that he really does love. Well, guys, that's going to be my top 5 WTFs for episode 6. I knew it got a little bit dark at the end, but you know, Toya is an interesting character to say the least. I did enjoy his dynamic and hope to see more in the future. If you want to see more videos like this, I do recommend subscribing, clicking that like button, and maybe putting a bell at the end to get notified when I upload next time. But other than that, this is Naruto Samurai, signing off.